Am I live? Okay.
Picture. Can send picture.
Hello, friends. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Archaeologists in Quarantine. Today I'm joined by Paul Duncan McGarrity, archaeologist and comedian. So let's unmute him because we know how he loves to chat. Hello, Paul.
Hello, it's lovely to see you. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you very much. I had a
I'm
really
loving
nice day.
I'm loving the back setup.
Yep,
Is it Nightmare Live, level
Nightmare
2?
Life. I was a professional goblin for a year in the touring show.
Very cool. Did you get any injuries from that?
Oh yeah. I was constantly being hit by big spinning blades. Horrible.
Horrible, but you did it for a year, so I think you kind of enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah. Like when I could hand in a resignation note saying I'm off to become a professional goblin, it was a lovely day. I then had to live on an actor's salary for a year, which is why I returned to archaeology.
I'm surprised. So acting salaries are even worse than a
It is for
commercial.
goblins, yeah. Goblins is proper low level.
I love it. So it seems you've always been involved with stage and digging up the past. You love to just combine it, it seems.
Yeah, it took me a while to finally do it. I started doing comedy. I did some improvised comedy at university, and then I realised I actually wanted all the attention and glory. So I left that and started doing stand-up. That was about 11 years ago, but I've been doing archaeology for 16 years. And then eventually, yeah, so I sort of like was doing them in tandem, but never thought to combine them all. I started off in the kind of, aren't men and women different? And now it's become, aren't men and women in Victorian England different? So it's an entirely different set of skills. But yeah, I decided that people found archaeology interesting enough or had enough questions about it that it gave me sort of this ability to Trojan horse education into them through doing it on Friday and Saturday nights in comedy clubs. And I tell you what, I have died on more stages than you can possibly imagine.
Yeah.
Oh, when people are out for a fun night out, I'll tell you what they're not expecting: stratigraphy.
God, I don't even know how you can make that fun.
I can't. That was a lie. It was a lie.
This is the thing. Like I remember I saw something on your YouTube channel about archaeology puns, and just the things about being entrenched and all these sort of jokes. I mean, to me they were hilarious. But then I was thinking, if there's no archaeologists in the room, are they even going to get our jokes? Like, how can you honestly connect archaeology with comedy? And where did you even get the idea to do it?
Well,
Try to
honestly,
make money from it.
It was because I was finding myself quite boring doing the stand-up. Like I wasn't anything unique. I am, and this may surprise you for anyone who knows the comedy scene, a tall, straight white man. There are enough of us, frankly, and there wasn't anything interesting about me. But I have this job of archaeology, and it was the decision came at the Edinburgh Fringe. I can't even remember what year was it. 2016, I think. 2014, 2014, 15, 16. I can't remember off the top of my head. And I decided to make a show that I would enjoy and just see if anyone turned up. And luckily, the room that I had booked seated 19 people, so I didn't really need to worry about that many people turning up on a daily basis. But people did, and I started getting queues down the corridor and things like that. And it turns out there are, like, you've worked in archaeology as well, and we work with archaeologists. There is a sort of sense of humour, a kind of, depending on what site you're on, almost like a hangman's sense of humour, a very dark sense of humour, which translates really well to people. And so you can tell stories about working on building sites and things like that. Or you can be invited to do these pun runs. And then through all of having done stand-up and finally decided to do archaeology, I came across the science and history circuit. where it's people who are science first, like, so they're lecturers and things like that, but they want to use comedy to try and improve how they present, which, if anyone's been to a university, will tell you there are lecturers out there who, you know, great in a dusty library, awful in a lecture hall, right? They were using stand-up comedy, like the science show-off and things like that, to try and improve their presentational skills. And then I turned up, having done 6 years of the most brutal gigs you can imagine in the back end of nowhere, to, like, you know, booed off stage, or even worse, silenced off stage by 250 people at a horse race course Christmas party. That was horrible. That was particularly bad. So I've got, like, the skills of doing that kind of comedy circuit, and basically it was a really nice fit, because, you know, I had the chops to perform, and everyone else was really well informed, and I just sort of snuck in as the more experienced comedian who could still talk about the archaeology and stuff. And I've sort of been floating around that circuit ever since.
Yeah. And if memory serves, you actually was in Edinburgh, and you did Edinburgh Fringe, which is amazing.
Yeah.
That's an amazing accomplishment.
Thank you. Well, the joy about the Edinburgh Fringe is that anyone can do it as long as you give them money.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's an open access. The reason it's become the biggest arts festival in the world is they'll let me in, right? And I was awful for years. Honestly, I think the first decent show that I put up there was Asking Archaeologists, because I was talking about stuff that interested me. And also it was about, like, it was this weird confluence of me telling anecdotes, and also the show being about not trusting narratives that fit too strongly to your sense of the world, sort of like confirmation bias. Because I like nothing more than taking a really simple idea and just adding a weighty moral to it that makes it an unwieldy show. Then 2 years after that one, I did a show called Practical Guide to Attacking Castles, where I performed the entire show in a full suit of armor. I took up full contact medieval combat. I tried to block a sword with my hand and had one of my fingers nearly severed with a sword in the middle of a fight. The fights, by the way, are competitive, and you can win by knockout.
What do you win at the end of this, though?
Money. They're prize fights.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize it's actually money. Real money, not Monopoly. Real money.
No. Oh. I've won money fighting people with swords. I also have a scar over this side of my head from when someone punched me through the visor of the helmet and tore into my head with a sword. And I also have a scar on this side of the head when someone punched me so hard that they dented the helmet I was wearing.
You know, this is kind of going to help someone out there doing a PhD on for sure weapons and armor.
So I still work for Museum of London Archaeology. I'm a community engagement project officer. Basically, I talk about archaeology all day and I talk about archaeology all night. And we have our osteologists not just like a couple of bays down. And oh my God, it was like, I had to ban them from coming in because they were just like, "Can we see the x-rays? This is really interesting. There's a sword injury, you say. Oh, fantastic. Can we have a look at it? Can we see it? Can we touch it? Can we touch it?" I was like, "Get away from me, you carrion."
I mean, come on, when you do pass away, and if you do give your body up for science, you're going to help an archaeologist out there when it comes to injury.
No, I'm not giving them to science. I'm going to get buried, but like head first with a trumpet out my backside, so that when someone finds me, it's a horrifying. They're like, "Oh my God, we've never found an instrument so well into. Oh my God, what happened? Was he some kind of jazz terrorist? This is horrible."
It's like, you just reminded me. So because you said trumpet, so growing up, if I don't know where this phrase came from, but if I said I wanted to pass wind, I would say bomb trumpet.
Bomb trumpet.
Yeah, I would say bomb trumpet. So you just reminded me of that. So thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I've often accused my 8-month-old of playing a solo on the bomb trumpet, you know?
Well, I mean, it's like one running joke, I think, where with archaeologists, we try to think of ways if we could stitch up future archaeologists, how can we do it?
Yeah, absolutely. And
best ways.
Yeah, my physical body with a number of bizarre fractures is enough of a puzzle for them in the future anyway. Like, did this man fall through a blender? What happened to him?
I've just got this strange images now. Okay,
Yeah.
let's move on.
So those are those two shows, and the archaeology, the castle show was not really about castles. It was more about people not questioning narratives they hear in the digital realm and the misuse of history to try and like sell to a particular narrative. So it's like I tell jokes and then I make people think about stuff. And the next one that I was writing that was supposed to be for this Edinburgh, but is now unfortunately postponed because they've cancelled it for the first time in 50 years.
It's because you were going back, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, it could be a warning not to do it because the next one's called A Practical Guide to Villains and Bastards, and is a hilarious romp through the history of the British Empire.
Very good. I'm intrigued.
Yeah. The research has been sad, so sad.
I can imagine.
Yeah. And I'm looking at it going, why have I decided to put this in a comment? Oh, God.
It's the hard one. Good luck.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at the facts, because of recently, I think last month now, I did a stream about colonialism.
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing another one on Wednesday, fingers crossed, if all goes well.
Yeah.
I can find someone to talk to. But it's amazing the stuff that we don't learn.
And for certain. But the thing I think is why it's important for me why doing it through a comedy show is quite an interesting way of doing it is it's basically, like I said, I'm a Trojan horse. People like come to see, this face talking about villains and bastards. I grow a mustache out and I shave all this off. I look like a proper villain, and then I start going, actually the Empire was pretty bad, and they're like, oh, he got us. he tricked us in on it. Yeah. And then I turn the knife at the last minute, and yeah, that's sort of that's always been the goal. Is no matter what I write the jokes about, the factual elements of it, or the sort of like the message, the horrific preachy messagery stuff has to be is as important to me as the comedy side of things, because it's I'm one of those terrible knobs who think it's a very powerful education tool.
Well, it is, because when people are laughing, their boundaries go down. Once they start laughing, I mean, once you get them, you've got to get them.
Yeah. First 5 minutes is just knob jokes, right? And then you're like, knob joke. Anyway, let's talk about Winston Churchill's dealing with the Kurds. Oh no.
It's a tricky one, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see if and when you do actually have the opportunity, if they let you in.
Trust me, it's going to be an interesting one to write.
It'd be good to have like backstage stuff of that, actually documenting your journey.
Oh God, no. Script. No, what you find, the other thing you find about comedy is it definitely is something that you need to be like. Before we started, you very handily made sure that I was calm before the interview by telling me, remember, it's on the internet forever. And that's sort of why small comedy club venues are good, because when you're writing this stuff up, particularly around topics of this nature that I'm trying to get across to people, you end up just, you talk, and sometimes you'll say stuff and you'll go away from it going, I hope those 12 people all suffer amnesia on the way home, because that was the worst thing you've ever said. Right? And you don't say it again, but it's kind of a process. If you were to do everything online forever, I wouldn't still have a career.
It's very true, because you have to always make sure. I mean, I'm aware the whole time that this is on. No matter what I'm doing, in the back of my head, I know that it's there. And it's true, at least when you're on stage, most of the time, there's not going to be a camera rolling. And if there is, you know about it beforehand.
Yeah, hopefully.
And then you get over it. Yeah, hopefully you know. But generally speaking now, everyone is going to be recording, even when they're not supposed to be. There's always going to be one person.
But I'm a big fan of my multiple job titles. Comedian, community engagement officer. I'm also trained in historic standing buildings. and my particular area of interest is in performance spaces, and that sort of like contract that an audience makes when they move into a space, like why so many comedy clubs are downstairs or upstairs. Basically, you're moving away from the public environment, and you're sort of entering into a entirely different world where the rules are slightly different. There's an expectation that you're going to be sort of challenging taboos, which is why when I start talking about stuff that you wouldn't normally think of historically, or like the topics might be a bit heavy, you can get away with it if you're not bad. Like if you can make someone laugh, that's the trick. And I'm not always good, but I'm good enough.
The thing is that people like it when, well, first of all, you've got to be confident, and then even if you just stop laughing at yourself, that'll do. Somebody will laugh at it.
No, there's nothing more horrifying than 30 people silently watching someone laughing at themselves. That is not what you have not described a comedy gig. You've described a mental breakdown.
You know, I've just realised something. I think I've actually seen you on stage before.
Very possibly.
Yeah, so I think, I'm trying to remember the year, I think it's 2014. We're in London. And not because you were bad, I just realised. It's because it reminded me of, it was a tough situation where it's like a small, you were introducing Steve's band, Fire.
Oh, yeah.
Something
yeah, no,
like
you
that.
saw me emceeing that gig. That's still got one of yeah. Loads of people from the Institute of Archaeology were there.
Yeah, it was ram-packed with archaeologists.
Yeah, got everyone down to the front, everyone dancing.
Yeah, because we were down at the bottom in the basement, and it was a small room.
Yeah.
And it was filled with archaeologists and rockers. It was a very...
Oh, no, I've introduced them twice, and you saw the bad one. I've just realised what you're talking about. Yeah. No, there's two. There's one where I introduced them at a gig, and like someone took a photo of me like mid-floor, and I'm just arms open, screaming at the sky, and it's one of the most rock and roll photographs ever. And yours was a long, slow, uneasy death over 3 hours of contractual time.
I mean, luckily, this is a long time ago, so I don't remember.
Oh, I know. Thank you so much for forgetting. This is the kind of audience I want. Is someone who forgets about me and then invites me on a live stream.
No, it's in a good way, not in a bad way, because there's so come on. We both know that when you work in London, back in those days, every Friday it's pub night, and at that time, I think I was at ASE, and then that's how I met Steve. Steve was my supervisor, and then I went to PCA. And then so I was working in London.
Yeah.
And then they were playing one night. It's a long time ago. This is 6 years ago. This is my defense. It's 6 years ago.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
When did you go to PCA? Just out of curiosity.
2014.
2014.
Yes, I was at ASC first.
Oh, and I left PCA in 2013.
Did you?
Yeah.
Fun fact, they have, I'm going to, hope no one's listening. Fun fact though, in the supervisor's room in Brockley, they do have your poster.
I do know that.
You do know this? Yeah, they have your poster there. In their mural of all archaeology things. They've got yours there as well.
Goodness me. Well, there you go. That's exciting.
You made it. You made it to the wall.
That was the company I left to go and be a professional goblin.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like I should call them up tomorrow and ask. Oh, tomorrow's Sunday. Maybe they will not appreciate my call on a Sunday. They don't think they appreciate it during the week anyway. But which reminds me, I remember seeing on your bio, on Mola's bio. So again, Mola is Museum of London Archaeology, and it's one of PCA's competitors for the London circuit. So yes. Paul, it says on your bio that you worked at the Curtain Playhouse in 2016.
I did indeed. I was assistant supervisor on that site, one of several assistant supervisors on that site. But I'm pretty sure I got the job because I can talk the hind leg off a donkey, and they had a whole lot of community engagement work, tours and lectures and various things. We wanted someone to be able to cover that like weekly.
Every week.
Yeah,
I remember they had a platform, didn't they? Because I was supposed to go there because I had some friends who were working, and I was supposed to go, but I was working on the week and the weekends as well, and I just couldn't
do it.
No, couldn't do it.
No, it was what was it, 4 or 5 back-to-back tours on a Friday, every Friday.
Oh my gosh.
It was great. It was me and another chap, and we had a competition of who could get the most applause breaks during their talk, and who could shift the most Mola books at the end of the talk. He won on the books because he was a salesman. I got the most applause. It was great. Yeah.
Good team then. Good team effort.
Yeah, great team. It was a really fun site. It's also because I've worked on the curtain. I've been involved in some of the community engagement work around the theatre, and I wrote a self-guided walking tour for the Boar's Head, which is so they're all sort of the north and eastern theatre districts, and through my work on all of those, I already have an interest in performance spaces, and now I'm working on like one where two that Shakespeare were performed at. Ben Jonson was involved in them, Kit Marlowe. So it's like these. What was his name? Will Kemp, famous comedian as well. So obviously there's a personal excitement about finding out about him. And it was a fantastic site, but it was because the archaeology was amazing, the team was brilliant, but there was this community engagement aspect to it, and it was off the back of that. I went and worked for a year and a half in the buildings department, did a lot of really exciting stuff for them, and then an opportunity opened up to go and do community engagement. And I have been talking about archaeology day and night ever since. When am I going to get a break?
You love it, really.
I don't know. I'm starting. Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. It's been brilliant. But I'm also at the point where I'm like, I think I might have ruined the thing that I love by making it both of my jobs.
That's the hard one, is getting a balance, because especially with archaeology, for most of us, it is our hobby, and we're lucky we're getting paid for it because it is peanuts, right? So we're doing it because we have the love for it.
Yeah.
And then it's tricky when you can't escape it, because you do need a break sometimes, which is then when we have so for me, it's this or doing other sort of online content for me, but it's still archaeology, but at least I'm separating it a little bit. I feel like, you can't escape it at all.
Well, yeah.
You have to dig yourself in a hole, don't you?
Certainly. And then look at the side of the hole and draw all of the stratigraphy and give it all numbers, because I just can't leave the hole alone.
It's a good metaphor for your life, I think.
I've started to be, I enjoy being very silly. And in the last couple of weeks, obviously, like a lot of people, I'm on furlough. Because, interestingly, not a lot of people want me to gather them together in small rooms and talk at them for hours about archaeology. Because sometimes they get very excited and the spit comes out, and no, they don't want that.
Wear a mask, my friend. You wear a mask, you'll be fine.
But they can't see my face, can't see how powerful. I'm going to have like a see-through mask.
You could do. There's some interesting viral videos of this girl who's eating food, and she has a mask, but she actually has a hole so she can open it and eat. You could do one of those.
Fantastic. It's just like, I want you to know how I really feel passionate. So look at my face.
Or it could be like with armor, bring it back into your stage days.
I've got the helmet somewhere. Oh, I've taken it out of the room.
Oh, what a shame.
I know. Well, I've got 2, but neither of them are at hand.
It's fine. It can be for another time. Or it can be for one of your sort of satire 1 minute, I think it's the 1 minute videos that you're making, or 2 minute videos I've noticed you're doing.
Yeah. I try, because like I'm on furlough, and I'm trying to think of when everything goes back, there's obviously going to be a change in the way that we do community engagement. And before we were leaving, we were planning to do a project working with people who are experiencing homelessness, to try and investigate the impact of poverty on 19th century communities around Shoreditch Park, and sort of like their equivalents in the 20th and 21st century. opportunities to do community engagement. Obviously, they're a hugely at-risk group, and that project is still waiting for us to come back, as is all of the others that were all built around going into schools, giving lectures, giving talks, walking around the site. We don't know when we're going to be able to come back to that. So I've been trying to push for more digital content, things like online versions of walking tours or self-guided tours that maybe you don't have to walk with a large group. And an aspect of that is videos. So I thought I would try and teach myself how to do video production while I was away. We can all agree that the results are mixed, as I've just found out that the last video that I put out, if you wait 20 seconds after it looks like it's ended, you'll find that I forgot to delete one of the outtakes, and it's just me turning the camera off that I forgot to delete.
Why did I not see this when I was looking at them earlier?
It's pretty,
I must have just assumed and turned.
Exactly. I'm hoping most people have, but look, unfortunately, my wife, diligent as she is, went, there's still quite a lot of runtime. I wonder what's on here. And it's just me going, can we just...
Luckily, you get away with it because you're comedians. You're allowed to do stuff like this. So it's all intentional. That's what you can say.
Yeah. It's what is it, hidden track like you used to get on CDs.
Yeah. Or at the end of like Avengers, the clip for the next film.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but the next video is going to be me backing up going, fix the camera. Okay, let's go.
You just reminded me of, I can't believe, it's brilliant, your video, Josiah Wicks.
Oh, thank you.
Don't know if you're going to get your millions of views per day, but you could try.
Yeah, see if I can glom onto his success.
You never know. It could work. You could say you're his uncle or something.
Well, all of that was, I just wanted to try and see if I could teach myself how to make something monochrome and to give it like that background and all that sort of stuff. And also, whilst I'm in here, I've ended up getting his book about how to wean a child. I've been doing his kettlebell sessions. I've lost a stone in weight. So basically, I've heard a lot of Joe Wicks, and all I hear every time he talks is just, you're a 19th century urchin. That's who's put on a skin-tight skin-tight lycra. Jeez, that's a different video.
Lucky for you, because we're going to try and get rid of that image now that you've just created.
All right, everybody, I'm going to try and get through this one. It's chafing a lot.
Luckily, we have a question to save us from Simple Archaeology. Thank you, Simple Archaeology. They've asked, do you use comedy to try to promote archaeology and heritage, or is it mainly because you enjoy it? And do you think it translates well to people not interested in the subject?
It's quite an interesting one. I think I do it in two different ways, to be honest. The long shows that I write definitely already, because of like putting archaeology in the title and things like that, the audience are people who are already probably going to be interested in archaeology as it is. A good example of that was I went to go and do a gig in a renovated medieval house off the high street in Dunbar for a charity who were using archaeology to try and impact at-risk youths by teaching them how to do stonemasonry. So obviously they literally Googled archaeology comedy, and
you came up.
There are three of us, right? But I've got the best sort of like I keep putting stuff out just to stay at the top of the Google search.
SEO. There you go. SEO is recording, yeah.
SEO, that's it. So that audience were all they were supporting the charity already there. 4 people turned up dressed as medieval peasants. They're already in that world. So in that instance, it's more of an entertainment thing. It's a fun thing. It's something different for that those venues to use, because like museum lates and things like that. You see a lot more of them in the science things of them doing like fun lectures. And I'm like, we should be doing that for archaeology and history as well. We should be adding these extra opportunities to bring different audiences in, but they tend to already have an interest in the subject you're talking about. When I'm doing comedy on normal comedy nights, that's when it's a case of you pick your shots. And some of it, like, I won't be going into as much detail, but people will still learn something through one of my sets, but the emphasis is on the comedy. So you lose a lot of the educational side of things, but you can still use it. And in that instance, what you're doing there is you're just surprising people who don't expect to be interested in it. And the onus is on you to make it interesting, to tell them why they should care, and also, above everything else, to make it funny. As long as you make it funny, you can talk to people about absolutely anything, any subject, and they will listen to you and they will possibly take stuff in. And so, yeah, I think as an educational tool, you have to understand that you're not going to get to people in the same way in every single venue, but that's what I use it for. I'm one of the worst people you've ever met, because I will just basically almost shake with excitement at the opportunity to teach people things. Like, whether they ask me to or not, I'm just like, oh God, I want to tell you everything about archaeology. It's so exciting. And if someone says that you can have 10 minutes where you can just talk, I'm like, yes, I am a confident, tall, white guy. I will take it.
It's one of those ones that it is quite tricky, I imagine, I mean, it's a lot of skill. I don't think people realize it's a hard job being stand-up. And then being able to command the audience, and if you know that they're not liking or receiving the jokes well, then you've got to steer it in a way.
It's why it takes so long to do it. Like I say, I've been going. When did I start? I started 2009, and I think I'm just starting to get okay at it. Because you have to die over and over and over again, and I think half of not even half, more than half of comedy is like, you can learn to tell jokes and you can have timing and rhythm and all that sort of stuff. But a lot of it is like, what happens that first time an audience laughs at one of your jokes. It's the most incredible thing you will ever experience. It's like this hit of adrenaline and all of the other brain chemicals that we're all addicted to, you know? And then after that first hit, it gets less and less and less, so you start chasing it. I mean, you just want people to laugh at you more and more. But I tell you what, the first time an audience turns against you, and audiences turn against comedians like no other art form. Reason being, people forget about things like genres and stuff like that. If you were to go and see a band and someone said, let's go and see some music tonight, I reckon one of your first questions is, what music will we go and see? You know, should we go and see the BBC Philharmonic, or are we going to go and see, you know, Catholic Carnage, a thrash metal band? Right? You're not going to just turn up blindly. But if someone says, do you want to go and see some comedy? You're like, yeah, I'll go see some comedy. But there's genres in comedy as well. But so when people turn up and it's not to their liking, or they disagree with it, they don't say, oh, this isn't for me, and like tune out. The reaction tends to be, I don't find this funny. That person said that they were going to make me laugh. I haven't had the excitement of getting to laugh at them. They're not funny. You can have people who are sat in a room where every other person is laughing. If they don't get it, it's actually worse, because then they're looking at everyone else like, why are you laughing? I don't get it. Why are you doing this? And well, once you've been banged up against a wall by a mother of a 14-year-old who thought that your jokes were inappropriate, and she just kept smashing you into the wall, you sort of get the point that, you know, some people dislike not finding comedy funny.
And you just think it's bad with hecklers, but for the sounds of it, no, you don't just get hecklers.
Oh, no. I've had to stop. It's bizarre. Like, particularly, it's not happened as much recently, because you start moving into different circuits and people book you for the gigs that you're right for. You start finding your genre, basically. And now I've also started getting people who are turning up to see me when I do my hour shows. Those audiences are self-selecting because they want to see shows about comedy, about archaeology. But yeah, no, I've had to stop. I've had to stop an audience member glassing the act with a full bottle of mustard.
Mustard.
Multiple threat. Mustard. Yeah, he just went to go for the guy with a bottle of mustard. Like, physical threats of violence are not unusual. I had one in Darlington. I'm from Middlesbrough, and Darlington's just down the road. And it was quite early in my career, and I went there, and someone from my old school happened to be at the gig. Hadn't come to see me, just happened to be there. And their brother went into the toilets at the interval after my set. And there was a fella in there who was like, my accent's softened since I came south. So I don't, people are like, you know, you've changed. And he's in the toilets to his mate, and he's like, trust him to come up. I mean, it's disgusting him pretending to be from the area just so that we like him. Do you know what? I'm going to find him. I'm going to batter him. I'm going to batter him. I'm going to take his face. I'm going to smash it into a wall. And the girl who'd been at school and his brother's next to him at the urinal and just went, actually, my sister went to school with him. And this guy went, oh, well, fair enough. And that was it. That's all it took to not beat me to a messy pulp. But the chances of it is there. And just because there's something about if you go out and say, I'm going to make you laugh, and then you don't, people feel weirdly, like, personally insulted by it.
Well, people make a night out, I guess, don't they? So they take the disappointment on you for some bizarre...
But people make a night out to go and see music, but they don't throw full bottles of beer at you.
It's terrible. I mean, which kind of goes nicely into the next question we have via YouTube. Thank you, Alex. He's asked, do you have some classical jokes about archaeologists?
Classical jokes about archaeologists.
I mean, it's upside down smiley face, so you can take it as you like.
That one. I never know what that one means. Just someone smiling at you from Australia. What is it?
I don't know. It's like I kind of like it.
Yeah, it's good. Well, I would point them to my video of archaeology puns, first of all, because that's pretty much all of them. And like I think with all comedy, it works better with an audience rather than me just sitting here going, well, let me tell you something about this man. And a lot of the stuff that I talk about is, it's less sort of like the setup punchline. Or I say that though, there is a video of me doing 5 minutes of archaeology puns. Please enjoy. I will never do that set again. It was for a very specific... Because it was for a night of puns. It wasn't a night of archaeology. So, like, it's not how I normally do it. And genuinely, there's a ban. I'll tell you something about that video instead. There's a ban on reading from it. They want people to actually perform. But if you see, I've got a book in my hand, and I was only given special dispensation because that's the first gig I did back after my son had been born, and he was sleeping like 40-minute chunks. That was the first time I'd been out of the house, and I couldn't remember the end of the joke after I'd said the setup. So me looking at my notepad is basically me going, I have no idea what is coming next. It's horrifying.
You know, you played it really well, because I watched that one and I thought it was brilliant.
Oh, right.
It was funny because I'm an archaeologist, so I found them all really funny.
Good. Well, let me tell you that.
So bad, so good, you know?
Yeah, I wrote most of them about 3 o'clock in the morning, cradling a sleeping child, hoping desperately that I didn't breathe in too heavily and wake him up again. So it was, that was one of the more intense gigs. But a lot of it's like, one of my favorite stories is I worked on the redevelopment of King's Cross, and we had security guard there, and we were working the building site, and he came over to us and he said, guys, I don't want you to go anywhere near the factory building, it's very dangerous. And we're like, fine. Security guard, you're on site, you do what he said. One of the other guys I was with asked him why not. And I'm so glad that he did, because as he was leaving the room, he went, because last night I saw a werewolf. Yeah. And he had written it in the accident report book. Yeah, exactly. He found that, it turns out 4 days later, we found out what had actually happened. It turns out he'd seen a fox going into one side of the building and a man coming out the other. He went, oh, that's probably a werewolf, isn't it? I best put that one in the official accident report book. Yeah.
Why an accident book? How was that an accident for him? Okay, so
it was a near miss. He put it as a near miss, werewolf.
Okay, so it's a legal requirement. If you're on site, something happens, you're supposed to document it. But this is an official document that is.
Yeah.
It's looked at. So.
Oh yeah, werewolf wasn't the only thing he put in. He put ghost as well. He put ghost and werewolf as near misses.
Bless him.
I loved it, and that's it. That's the side of that. That's, you know, there's the pun jokes, but working as an archaeologist is a stupid, silly job.
But you got
Yeah, and you meet a lot of odd people.
Well, you just reminded me of something I think I'd like to show everybody, because it's actually in my head. The video that if you haven't seen it, I'm going to share it now to all of you. It's something I've been sharing everywhere all over social media because I think it's brilliant. So I'm just going to go onto YouTube and I'm going to open it up for you, Paul, and you're going to know straight away what it is.
Okay.
1 second. Don't worry. I was tempted to show. So this is. Oh, let me do screen share. So I'd like everybody to see your YouTube channel. 1 moment, YouTube, please. There we go. So we are currently on Paul's YouTube. You can see I've been watching them all whilst I was on the train on the way home.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. This one really caught me by surprise. Your Josiah Wicks. I was just like, what? Brilliant. Okay. So I think we should show everybody. Just
Thank you.
It's always in my head. This is brilliant. I don't know how long it took you, but you can if you want to speak about it, you can.
I'll do it at the end.
Archaeologists holes in the ground to see what amazing things can be found. But archaeologists don't find dinosaurs. Pots and pans and fancy fans and much more made by human hands. But archaeologists don't find dinosaurs. We carefully draw all we see as we dig, no matter how small and no matter how big. But archaeologists don't find dinosaurs. The past is in layers, and the deeper we go, the things that we find are older, you know. But archaeologists don't find dinosaurs. Digging up gold is really quite rare, and everyday things need just as much care. But archaeologists don't find dinosaurs. Each object is a clue that can unlock a story about lives in the past, all the good, bad, and gory. But archaeologists don't find dinosaurs. All the things that we find go to a museum, where they're put on display so all the people can see them. Now, I've told you a lot, but there's time for one more. An archaeologist will never, ever find a dinosaur. Do you think she saw us?
I'll show you this as well. I just love it. Yeah, for nuts, really. For acorns, nuts.
My son's name is Oakley.
Oh,
So
that's cute.
The whole thing is actually, I tried to find a book on archaeology for him because I wanted a kid's book to show him what Dad did. And I found a list of the top 10 archaeology books, and 6 of them were about dinosaurs. And I just went, right, we're fixing that. So I did that. And I wanted to make it into a book, but I don't know how to get it made into a book or how to make it into a book. So I made it into a video. And that's where we are with it at the moment.
To be honest, I think it's actually better because by the time he grows up, I'm sure everything will be on the internet.
I know, but I just want to give him I like paper, I like objects, I like, things, and I just want to be able to go, that's yours. But he's watched the video and his reaction was, I think that's fine.
Well, we had a very good reaction to it on social media. Everybody's just like, it's so catchy. I made it go, I think, into everybody's head. It's like, it's like a pop song now. It's just like nobody can escape it. So I think it's good. So I think we've definitely achieved something there.
Good. Well, I've started my next one because it's the best reaction I've had. So the next one is trying to define what is Britishness. But in rhyming couplets aimed at children.
I'm seeing a theme now with your future projects, and I wish you all the best with it because they're very big.
Yeah, I've got a thing. I don't know. I had someone try. People using the term Anglo-Saxon when they're horrible racists.
You know the debate that's just happened on social media?
No. What about it?
We'll talk off air about that.
Excellent. But it's the Ask an Archaeologist show. A big part of it was getting the audience members to ask me questions that they wanted to answer, and we made to cover this. It rolled on into a podcast with the same name because obviously there was lots of things that people and the same things kept coming up. But I also met a lot of people who had, I've met people who've had like the kind of the only true Brit is an Anglo-Saxon. I'm like, we've got problems here, guys, because like, what, are we not counting the Normans? They came in and did a lot of difference, and I'll tell you who they messed up, the Anglo-Saxons, right? It's like, is it the Act of Union is Britishness? Is it, did you have to live through the Blitz? Is that the only people who are British? I find it, I think I saw someone recently saying that archaeologists always say that they help people to learn from the past. And they went, well, have you had a look around? Because we're not doing it very well. And that sort of got a bee in my bonnet. And I just want to, a lot of this trying to like find different ways in and different ways of doing things is a big part of that response. Is that I'm a student of history, and there's so much of it I'd like not to see again.
It's a really interesting one now, especially with this debate. It just reminded me of a quote, and I want to make sure I quote it correct. It's something that stuck with me since I think my second year of university. I came across it.
Okay.
And I'm going to type it in because I don't want to think. I might not find it. I have to wait another time. But you just reminded me. So there was an article, I think, in British Archaeology or Current Archaeology, one of the magazines, and they interviewed academics who were, for example, more into the English language, historians, archaeologists. And it was really interesting to see everyone's take on it, because they were discussing whether we should get rid of the term and maybe go back to early medieval, like go back to the medieval side of it. And it's a debate that is still going on, actually. It's an interesting one now.
But yeah, it was just because I've got a friend who works in his job covers elements of being aware of what far right groups are up to, and a big part of it is they're using I've got friends who do really stupid things, and yeah, he said there's a lot of the iconography of Vikings and the term Celtic and the word Anglo-Saxon, and all of these words are sort of like very quickly becoming dog whistles that you need to be aware of for far right groups. But
the thing is, there's going to always be someone who uses a word in another way, and that's the language in general.
Exactly, and that's why it shouldn't ever be like the word is verboten or whatever it is. The word isn't haram. It's the use of it and how they're twisting it. And like I say, I want to try and find. I don't think I'm going to be one of those people who directly attacks those individuals, because I am not calm enough to. I'm never someone who's going to effectively debate, because I tend to get towards the kind of like, well, why don't you just sod off sort of route of things. But what I can do is I can make entertainments that take people by surprise when they're not expecting to have an idea put to them. Or I can make a book, or I can do a stupid poem with the music of Brown Boots underneath it, to just try and get ideas out there, hoping that they catch in the right way. Of everything that I do, the very core of it all is I just want to promote the idea of critical thinking, and I think archaeology as a discipline is one of those things that is it's you've said a couple of times, are people interested in archaeology? One of the things that once you explain like the idea of it being about sort of like building up a picture of the past using evidence and kind of like trying to analyze. If people are like, oh, this seems like something I can understand. It's like they've seen police dramas on TV, and all of a sudden they can start making those connections of like, oh, it's not exactly as it was, but it's the best fit narrative, and you're using evidence, and you can get people excited about that. And you can get people to realize that stories are all well and good, but you need to be able to have the capacity to interrogate those stories to make sure that they're actually based on something of substance. And of all the things I say, the one thing I think we need to make sure that we promote is critical thinking.
And I've just found the quote, which will end this great. So it's from Tacitus. Actually, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I've never said it out loud before. Tacitus. It's a Roman historian.
Yeah, Tacticus, is that?
Tacitus, yes, Tacitus, that's it, Tacitus. So Tacitus wrote, who the first inhabitants of Britain were, whether natives or immigrants, is open to question. One must remember, we are dealing with barbarians. Yeah. Nothing's changed. That stuck in my head, like for 10 years now. That quote is stuck in my head, and you can, hey, literally.
We're fighting the same fight 2,000 years later.
Exactly.
We might as well have a laugh doing it.
Yeah. You know what? It's true. As you said, look, comedy. It's a way in. You're taking down someone's walls, and you're getting through to them in a different way that's not maybe seen as attacking, which is the problem, I would say, when people are trying to have these debates. It becomes like, as you said, like you want to scream at each other, which is the problem.
If I can, at the end of it all, if they take one bit of education away, great. If they've had a good time, even better.
Yeah. I do have a few more questions for you by YouTube. Angela, thank you. Angelina, I should say. What was the nicest or cutest experience you made during one of your stand-up shows?
Oh, I do stand-up comedy for kids, as well as like adult shows, and just they're amazing. All like I do one a bit of material where I'm trying to get them to think about history being all around them and how history is in their own names, because everyone, kids, weirdly, parents tell their kids what their names mean, and I get to like go out and take the mickey a little bit, so the kids like, my name means gift from God, and I'm like, oh my God, God came to your parents' door, that's amazing. And the kids like, no, he didn't, that's just a no, and they get angry at you and all this sort of stuff. But always by the end of that bit, they keep I ask them, I turn the tables and let them have a go at me, and I say, what do you think Paul means? And it's the look in kids' faces when one of them goes, smelly! And I don't like shout at them. I go, what? And all the other kids suddenly realize, wait, there's an adult that we can start calling names. This is amazing. And I'll end up with like 100 kids all going, I want to insult the man. I want to call him a name. And I'll be like, yeah. And he goes, does it mean poo-poo face? And it's joyful. It's really exciting.
And how old are these kids?
4 to 12, I think.
Oh, okay. So primary school generally.
It's a group called Comedy Club for Kids. They're absolutely brilliant, and they have given me the confidence. I do a 20-minute set for them, but one of the next things I'm working on, which may go ahead still because it's for July, might not, don't know, but I'm trying to do a full-length kids show called Archaeologists Don't Find Dinosaurs.
That would be awesome.
Yes.
I mean, you're going to break some hearts there, but I mean, actually, we've got a question as well from Alex. I think he's doing this on purpose because he finds it quite funny. He goes, what if archaeologists find dinosaurs? Is he straight away, would he then become a paleontologist? Lol.
Well, technically, I have been on a site where we have found a dinosaur, so...
Really?
Yeah, but it doesn't count because it was in a shed. It was at the British Museum excavations.
I know about this one. Yes, Becky's site, right?
Becky's site, right?
Yes.
We found all the fossils in the rubble, and when they called, I think if I'm right saying this, when they called the paleontologist, he turned up and was actually like, actually, this is a plesiosaur. You need an ichthyologist. And we're like, oh no, we've done the same to him.
What is that even? What is that? Does that mean like a bird one?
It was a fishy one. It was yeah. So dinosaurs are technically the land ones, and we'd called him out, and he was like, this is not a land-based lizard. This is a sea lizard. And we're like,
wow, that's brilliant though. I mean, it's cool to say that you've technically dealt with some paleontology. To us, it's paleontology. So.
But it was very annoying because I was like, oh no, I can't technically tell people they're idiots.
But you've done it as well.
Yeah. Oh, do you ever find dinosaurs? And you're like, no, but yes.
I'm trying to remember the story behind that. It was, if I remember correctly, they'd just been forgotten. Yeah, they'd stored it there.
Or my understanding was it may have been blitzed and it was in the rubble. So I think that was my understanding. What happened, but it wasn't on a part of the site I was working on. And then I came over and was like, we found these dinosaur fossils.
I mean, that's brilliant though. Let me just see, there's a few more questions. Simple Archaeology asked, who influenced your humour?
Initially, Eddie Izzard is a big part of my, someone that I looked up to. One of the first people who I saw doing stand-up on TV where I thought, oh, that could be a job, was Lucy Porter. I still think she's amazing. I've gigged with her once. It was a very bizarre event. It was a Edinburgh show where there are late night shows in Edinburgh where people do weird things, and this one was a live table reading of an episode of Extras, but done by people who were taking the mickey out of it. Right, a long way. So I met Lucy Porter, the person who was an influence on me wanting to start stand-up, in drag, while she was dressed as a nun and she was rubbing my chest hair. So it was a bizarre, like they say, never meet your heroes. I still don't know whether it was a good thing or not. So Izzard, Lucy Porter, and I got a lot of tips of like old things like Whose Line Is It Anyway, Monty Python and things like that. So yeah, and now I'd say if I could be a quarter as good as Daniel Kitson, I'd be very happy.
Well, I guess you have time now to kind of get your material. I mean, you don't have an audience to practice to, but
yeah, well, that's the problem. Yeah, I've spent most of the time just finding a part of the void to scream into, but yeah, it's going all right.
You could just find people. You could do Zoom. You could do like just random Zoom calls with people.
Just typing in email like passwords. I'm one of those people who you hear about. Hi, I'm here to do a type 5. What? Don't mute me! Don't mute me! I've actually done a couple of comedy gigs like this. It doesn't work.
How could you even do it? Can you see the audience? You can see everyone.
No. Like, so I did one last night where the other acts were on and their mics were turned up, so you could hear them laughing to your jokes. But other comedians very rarely laugh at other comedians' jokes because there's you more if you can get a comedian to go. That's really good. That's really good. Yeah, no, I really like that. Yeah, that's really good. It's not a laugh though, is it? And that doesn't really work when you're telling jokes. But the first one I did had no audience, no feedback, no nothing. And so you're just monologuing on your own in the corner of a room to a video camera. And then at the end of it, you're like, was any of that good?
So they've done it as a webinar, that means. So, because there's ways of doing Zoom, for example, Zoom, I think Google Hangouts, all these other platforms, and you can see the other participants and you just pin the video, but at least you can see everyone else.
Yeah. There's a chap who is doing something quite interesting called, his name's Stuart Goldsmith, and he's doing something called The Infinite Couch. and he has people that he's interviewing, and they're doing sort of like the comedy conversation. But audience members are, like, I think, chosen at random to also appear as part of one of the interviewees. So someone who's just watching the stream will suddenly pop up, and he'll start interviewing them as well. Which I don't know whether that sounds great or really stressful. Like, you're trying to relax and you're just in your bedclothes or something, and then bing, you're being interviewed in front of everyone. You're like, oh, sorry.
But I think because of the platform, it makes it even more fun. Maybe they're waiting, you know, they're hoping, and then because they're caught off guard, it's funny for everyone except them. So,
yeah, but I think, you know, there's some people who are doing it better than others in all this. But I'm someone who feeds on a live audience. I really, really, really enjoy that interaction, because a lot of my comedy, even after I've written it all, I still leave spaces for myself to improvise, because I enjoy the fact that only me and that audience will see that thing, and it only exists between us in that moment. And this is on the internet forever.
If only we could make a meme from it. But we haven't done anything silly, so it's okay. But
we
could
go get my helmet.
You could, yeah, just walk around with it. I'm just saying, there's a few more questions.
I'm delighted that questions are coming in, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, we've done quite well. We've just actually technically gone over, so we've done very well. It's natural flowing conversation, everyone. You see it happen. Sometimes it's nice. Let's see. Really, Alex? Okay. Maybe archaeologists and paleontologists could make historical battle. Who is more cool?
Who's more cool?
Yeah, who's more cool?
I'm sorry.
Ooh.
Do paleontologists have a popular film series starring Harrison Ford? No, they don't. Back in your box. Technically, they have Jurassic Park. But how well did that go? Right?
Haven't they made another one?
The films went well, but the dinosaurs ate everyone. I'm saying mostly about the actual plot.
That's true, yeah. The dinosaurs do go.
Yeah.
But there is supposed to be another Indiana Jones, if memory serves.
Yeah. And then there'll be 4 of them, because I do not recognize one of those films as an Indiana Jones film.
It's his son. It wasn't his son.
If anyone wants to see how much thought I put into Indiana Jones 5, I've written a pitch blog of how I think they should do it, which is on my website. It's on my website.
Wait, let's watch it right now on your website.
Oh, no, it's not a video. It is a dense treatise on how exactly they should do it. It's like, so, you know, it's one of those things where you finish writing it and you put it up and you go, I mean, I could have done some real work, but no. I would say that people should read it, because more people who read it, the more likely it is to get to Steven Spielberg. And let's be honest, it's going to get made. It's a really good pitch document.
Wow. Okay. I'll put the link in the bio, everyone, just in case. Okay, let me just see. If there's any more questions, now's your time. So please think of something. What's funny? Another question. Okay, I'm trying to work out how to say this. How can you make archaeology funny? Is it not a boring subject?
This is from someone watching the stream, right?
Yeah, this is not me.
No, this is, I'm assuming.
An archaeologist on it.
Brilliant. No, all I'm saying is I'm assuming this is someone who's tuned in to watch an archaeology thing. So clearly they don't find it interesting. So if you find something interesting, that's a good enough start point. You can make it funny.
How can you make it funny? Is it difficult? Is it difficult?
No, because I'm good.
You can even hear Sasha laughing in the background. Yeah. Anyone watching background noise? That is Sasha laughing.
Nice.
Ooh, he got a laugh. Let me just check. Jim. I'll quickly check Instagram. Ooh, I've done something. Actually, while I'm looking, any other videos you'd like to show? Not really, no.
No. I think they're all very silly.
I like them. I've put the link of your YouTube channel in the description box, and I've also put if you need to buy Paul a coffee, there's a link there as well.
That'd be lovely.
Yeah,
of the videos that I have, the ones that I think people might find interesting above all the others, the non-comedy ones, are the Talking Walls series, which I still need to do the last video of, where I talk people through how to do a historic standing building survey of their own house. The idea being that whilst you're in them, you might as well get to know them a bit better. They're a bit too long, but
we got time.
You got time. So I would say that those are probably something to look at, and my podcasts as well.
Yes. So exactly what happened with the podcast, because I remember I checked your website because I did my homework. You were supposed to be doing Ask an Archaeologist as like a little mini tour, right?
The Minotaur, yes, which I did do.
The Minotaur, because of quarantine, I'm assuming. Yeah.
No, I did the Ask an Arch Minotaur several years ago. I'm supposed to be doing the previews for Villains and Bastards at the moment. And there was also a chance of me supporting another comedian, which unfortunately went away. But the podcast is still ongoing. I took a little bit of a hiatus while the kid was born so that I could meet him and say, welcome, sorry about the mess. I'm back now. I'm doing it. I was doing it fortnightly. I'm doing it monthly now. I talk to people who work in the heritage industry about how they got into it, what it is that they do, because I found from doing the touring shows, the same questions kept coming about archaeology, and people were clearly interested, but it was one of those jobs that they didn't quite know exactly what it was that you do. And it turns out there's the idea in people's heads of archaeology tended to be either Indiana Jones or Time Team, which it isn't either, really. And there wasn't an understanding of all of the other jobs that are that are required, like osteologists, paleoecologists, people who do historic standing buildings recordings. They think it's digging in the ground. They don't understand that there's all the other aspects of it. So that's what I do. I talk to people who have jobs in the heritage industry that aren't the one that you see on TV. They're the ones that actually drive it all forwards. I've had some really interesting chats. I've had some fine chats.
You just, which brings us on nicely to Simple Archaeology's question. Do your employers take you seriously? That is literally his question. Do they? I'm curious. Can they look at you without laughing?
Oh, no. My employers are incredibly understanding. My manager particularly is a magnificent human being who has taught me to be way more professional than I was when I started. But I've also broken him down a little bit to let me use comedy a lot more.
Do you get paid every time? You should be like, give me a tuppence for every time I make you laugh.
Yeah. There's a tip jar. There's a tip jar on the desk.
I feel like you're not joking. I feel like there is one. There really is.
No, but there will be when I go back.
You can put it in one of these, like stoneware ones. That's what you should do.
But yeah, no, look, I do the job well enough to keep employing me. I reckon they take me seriously enough.
I love that. I love that question. Thank you, Simple Archaeology.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, for nearly getting me in trouble. God, did you hear that? I turned into a politician for 5 minutes. Actually, no, it's really, no, it's a great honour to just be, oh, for goodness sake.
I feel, let's see if there's any more questions. Now is your last call. Imagine if I have a bell in a pub. Last calls for questions.
Aye, I've got my dinner tally, yeah.
Yeah. Что?
Are you?
My question. Ooh.
Just the one laughing on the background.
Yeah, but this is the thing, because we're talking to a comedian, we're not as professional.
Yeah.
So it's rubbed off on us as well. I'm normally very well composed.
I am a professional comedian.
Yeah, there you go. Let's see. Oh, actually, I've got a really good one that I was thinking of when you were talking about you working in the curtain theatre and being a goblin. Okay, if you could go back in time, what year and place would you travel to?
1599, London. It's the sort of the turning point for English drama. There's a lot going on. It's a really exciting time historically. You've got sort of like armies being sent out to Ireland that, spoiler alert, do really badly. And you've got Shakespeare writing, I think he's written Romeo and Juliet. He's starting on Julius Caesar. Ben Jonson's been arrested for stabbing another playwright in a duel. But he got off because he enacted a medieval law called the neck first that said if you could read Latin from the Bible, they let you off your first murder.
Is that still legal by any chance?
No, it isn't. And I had to explain that to a group of very posh school children who were like, I told them that, and it turns out they did Latin lessons, and I was like, no. Don't do anything rash. I think that would be a really exciting and interesting place to see. And because I've worked on a lot of the buildings there, I'd just really like to see how close we actually got to being right. Because we talked a big game. I'd love to see if it's actually anything like what we said it was.
What happens if it's not the curtain theatre that you found? You never know.
Oh, I'm sorry that the line went. Oh no.
Oh really? Yeah.
Yeah, so sorry that I can't hear you.
I don't know. I'm just speculating. I'm just saying. You did find some lovely Westminster tiles. That was apparently they nicked it from the site I was working on back in. This is back in the Apparently they stole our Westminster tiles and used it to build Curtain Theatre.
That's very cool.
Yeah, so I was working down near Shoreditch, just down the road.
Yeah.
Holywell, yeah.
Oh, you were down by Holywell Priory?
Yeah, I was there. That's my favourite site I've ever done. My favourite site, yeah. And because of quarantine, I'm not able to go there right now.
Boom.
I know.
Ooh, viruses.
Yeah, it's just a bit too far to travel to on the tube.
Yeah. My favourite site, I think I've got two sites that I really enjoyed. One was Sugar Key, really interesting Roman sort of port archaeology.
I thought that was really hard to work in there, wasn't it? Like knee high of mud, right? Sugar Key.
Yeah, but I'm really tall, so it was ankle high.
For me, it'd be like up here.
Oh yeah, you've got no chance. Just this.
It's just that.
Oh, I need help. A Sugar Key, and also I did some of the archaeology for Crossrail at Liverpool Street, and that was absolutely superb archaeology. Really,
did you do
really
the day shift or the night shift?
I did the day shift, so it was really good. It was really good.
I heard, so some people don't know, because of how time pressured there was, you had a lot, I don't know how many burials there was a lot. It's a graveyard, building through Crossrail.
4,000 or 5,000, no, was it?
There was quite a few.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised by that number, it must be 4,000-5,000.
Yeah, I think it was that.
So they had literally archaeologists around the clock working, so the day shift and the night shift. And the night shift being in Liverpool Street, it's especially a Friday night and Saturday night, you hear a lot of things because people don't realise you're working.
But the day shift had a curse put on them by a witch, so.
Really?
Yeah, someone turned up at the public platform and did a ceremony. Yeah.
That's your fault, right? You said a bad joke, I'm guessing. And then they cursed him.
No, she said we were walking the souls of the dead all over London. And we're like, oh, sorry. Yeah,
It's a tricky one when it comes to graves. But then look at Toronto? No, Ottawa. There's an area where the whole city is built on an old graveyard. So.
Wow, fascinating.
Yeah, I remember doing a ghost tour. It's a great place to do a ghost tour.
Cool.
Yeah, I recommend it.
Lovely.
But I can imagine, I mean, it's quite cool to say that you've been hexed. So.
Oh yeah, I've been blessed and I've been hexed. Yeah, 2 separate occasions. I've had a blessing and a hexing. So we'll see who was more powerful. And it's like, I feel like I'm in a Buffy episode or something.
I feel like you should maybe go back a few more 100 years, like the 1200s. I think you'd fit in perfectly.
Oh yeah.
Style, sword wounds.
Yeah, I'll take the suit of armor with me. I'll be sorted.
You're sorted, yeah. I think on that note, with that image, it's a shame I don't have the picture of you actually with I want to just finish the stream on a picture of Paul. Paul, do you know what picture I'm thinking of?
Is it me in the Norman helmet outside the Tower of London?
Oh yes. Oh, I don't know which one. They're all good. Okay, I'm going to show everyone. Okay. Instagram, I've already seen it. YouTube, I'm about to show you. For me, these pictures are brilliant. I'm sure you'd all agree with this. Like, I don't even know where to begin. Look at it. So this is Paul's website. Look at that. Beautiful. Work of art. Each one.
Thank you. Don't know what I'm
doing. This one especially, yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Lounging about. Oh yeah. It was quite hard for me to choose which one to do the advert. I think I decided to choose not this one. I was torn between this picture.
Yeah.
And this one.
Yeah, that was the poster in Edinburgh. That one. Yeah. Worked well enough. People came.
Well, I think on that, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. I think it's something all of us have needed to have a nice little bit of fun. Oh, and Angelina, I'll ask you a question just before we go. I'll ask a question, which is, did the pandemic inspire you to do some funny jokes about archaeologists at home or videos?
The videos that all of the little short videos that I did. I've been trying to do it. Yeah, that's it.
Hopefully there'll be a few more on the way if you get motivated.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's at least 2 others.
At least 2 others. Okay. When you do tell them, send us the link and we'll put that in for you as well. We'll share it.
Thank you very much.
So again, thank you so much, Paul. It's been so much fun. YouTube until Wednesday. We'll see you then. Have a lovely, lovely evening. Adios, everyone. Okay. And keep waving because I haven't turned it off yet. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Ciao. YouTube is down. Instagram, I'll be off Instagram.